All glories to seven devotees. All glories to seven devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Guru and Shri Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 So, Hare Krishna devotees. Today we'll be reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 12, Text 10. Apayajata Yagesham Kratupi Puridakshinai Dravya Kriya Devatmanam Karma Karma Palapradam Dharmaya Ajata Yagesham
Atayajata Yagnesham.
Kratupi Puridakshinai
Kratuve Puridashinai.
Dravya Kriya Devatmanam
Dravya Kriya Devataram.
Karma Karma Palapradam
Karma Karma Palapradam.
Atayajata Yagesham
Atayajata Yagnesham.
Kratupi Puridakshinai
Kratuve Puridashinai.
Dravya Kriya Devatmanam
Dravya Kriya Devataram.
Karma Karma Palapradam
Karma Karma Palapradam.
Atayajata Yagesham
Atayajata Yagnesham.
Kratupi Puridakshinai
Kratuve Puridashinai.
Dravya Kriya Devatmanam
Dravya Kriya Devataram.
Karma Karma Palapradam.
Karma Karma Palapradam.
Atayajata Yagnesham.
Atayajata Yagnesham.
Kratuve Puridakshina.
Kratupi Puridakshinai
Dravya Kriya Devataram.
Dravya Kriya Devatmanam
Karma Karma Palapradam.
Karma Karma Palapradam Atayajata Yagesham Kratupi Puridakshinai Dravya Kriya Devatmanam Karma Karma Palapradam
Atayajata Yagnesham.
Atayajata Yagesham
Kratuve Puridakshinae.
Kratupi Puridakshinai
Dravya Kriya Devataram.
Dravya Kriya Devatmanam
Karma Karma Palapradam.
Karma Karma Palapradam
Atayajata Yagesham
Atayajata Yagnesham.
Kratuve Puridakshinae
Kratupi Puridakshinai
Dravya Kriya Devatmanam
Dravya Kriya Devataram.
Karma Karma Palapradam
Karma Karma Palapradam Atayajata Yagesham Kratupi Puridakshinai Dravya Kriya Devatmanam Karma Karma Palapradam. So we'll do the word for word. Aka, hereafter, Ayajata, he worshipped, Yagya Isham, the master of sacrifices, Kratubi, by sacrificial ceremonies, Bhuri, great, Dakshinai, by charities, Dravya Kriya Devatanam, of sacrifice. As long as he remained at home, Dhruva Maharaj performed many great ceremonial sacrifices in order to please the enjoyer of all sacrifices, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prescribed ceremonial sacrifices are especially meant to please Lord Vishnu, who is the objective of all sacrifices and who awards the resultant benedictions. Say, may I repeat? As long as he remained at home, Dhruva Maharaj performed many great ceremonial sacrifices in order to please the enjoyer of all sacrifice, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Prescribed ceremonial sacrifices are especially meant to please Lord Vishnu, who is the objective of all sacrifices, and who awards the resultant benedictions. Om Jnana-timirandasya Yaranjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamaya Dadati Swapitantikam. Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagate Gopesha Gopikanta Radhakanta Namaste Taptakanchana Gaurangi Radhe Pranavneshri Vrishabhanuste Devi Pranamami Priye Vanchikalpatarubhescha Kripa Sindhu Vecha Patitanam Pavinebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So we'll read it as we're reading, we'll try to explain something. This purport is quite long, so we'll just see how far we can go. Try to cover it. It's 2.5 pages. So in the Bhagavad Gita 3.9, it is said, Yagyataras karmano nyanchaloka yam karma bandhana. One should act or work only in order to please the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, one becomes entangled in the resultant reactions. So, I just thought I'll just comment on this part of it, where the Lord says that one should work in order to please Him, to please the Supreme Lord. So there's a verse in the Srimad Bhagavad Gita as well, 1-8. Dharma svanasita pumsham ivan shena kakaya hopyahana padaya jadiratam shamahe vanikevalam. So occupational activities a man performs according to his own position are only so much useless labor if they do not provoke the attraction for the message of the personality of Godhead. So we see that here this verse is basically saying that whatever one does in this material world is useless. Whatever activities is performing is useless if they do not be attracted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead's messages. So what work should be accompanied by the messages of the Supreme Lord, or one should actually work in order to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So in this way we see Prabhupada in the purport of this verse, it says there are different occupational activities conceptions of life. To the gross materialist who cannot see anything beyond the gross material body, there is nothing beyond the senses. Therefore, his occupational activities are limited to concentrated and extended selfishness. So he says that one's activities in this material world, is basically centered around the body, on the bodily platform. So he does, in this way, his activities are limited and concentrated to his bodily activities, and that is selfishness. He wants everything for himself, right? And nothing, to give out to others or basically like that was the Supreme Personality of God. And he's just living to satisfy his bodily demands. And then Prabhupada goes to, and I won't read this whole purport, Prabhupada goes to and says, then it is, then one may have a mindset of working in accordance with the family, society, community, nation, like that. So it is still a gross bodily platform of life. And then he says, and there are other materialists who are mental speculators and who hover on the mental sphere. And they engage in some philanthropic work, and they come about with some ism, And he says, with the same aim of selfishness, limited to the body and the mind. So then Prabhupada goes on to say that, but above the body and the mind is dormant spirit soul, whose absence from the body makes the whole range of bodily and mental selfishness completely null and void. But less intelligent persons have no information on the needs of the spirit soul. So Prabhupada goes on to say that people are just working on a bodily platform and they have no information or on how to satisfy himself, the Supreme Soul. And then Prabhupada gives the analogy of the bird in the cage, and he says, if you go on tensing the cage of the bird, one does not satisfy the bird. So one must actually know the needs of the bird himself. So one must know what's our real need, because we are not this body, we are spirit soul. So we must know what is our essential need, the need of the soul and not of the body. And so Prabhupada goes on in this about, and he basically says that we need to get free from this material bondage, where we are in the bondage of this body, and we need to get free from that. And he says that he wants to see the free light and the spirit. The complete freedom is achieved when he meets the complete spirit, the Supreme Personality of God. There is dormant affection for God within everyone. Spiritual existence is manifest through the gross body and mind in the form of perverted affection for gross and subtle matter. So basically, because we are so allured by the mind, and it is a subtle aspect of this body, it is also, mind is also material, and because we have to satisfy the mind's demands, basically. So in this way, we do not serve the true self within. So he says, then our engagement should be to evoke our divine consciousness, and this is possible by hearing and chanting about the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Right? And then Prabhupada goes on in this bottom, and he said, I'm going to read the whole Prabhupada, but he says that the main objective is to satisfy the self within. So we'll just go on reading now. From this Prabhupada, because this Prabhupada is quite long, so one should act or work in order to please the Supreme Lord. Otherwise, one becomes entangled in the resultant reactions. According to the 4 divisions of Varna and Ashram, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas are especially advised to perform great ceremonial sacrifices and to distribute their accumulated money very liberally. Dhruva Maharaj is a king and an ideal Kshatriya, performed many such sacrifices, giving very liberally in charity. Kshatriya and Vaishyas are supposed to earn their money and accumulate great riches. Sometimes they do it by acting sinfully. Kshatriyas are meant to rule over a country. Dhruva Maharaj, for example, in the course of ruling, has to fight and kill many Yakshas. Such action is necessary for Kshatriyas. A Kshatriya should not be coward, and he should not be non-violent. To rule over the country, he has to act violently. So we see here that the Prabhupada is saying that the Kshatriya's duty is to protect the citizens, and he has to act violently at times. So, he says he has to act sinfully as well by killing many people. As Dhruva Maharaj, in this example, was killing Yakshas. And we see that Arjuna also had to kill Kurukshetra, right? He killed many people. And basically the Pandavas, right? They basically got rid of the whole army. Basically on both sides, everyone was killed. So in this way we see that this is a Kshatriya's duty. In order to rule, he has to get involved in sinful activities. This is what Prabhupada is saying here. Kshatriyas and Vaishyas are therefore especially advised to give in charity at least 50% of their accumulated wealth. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is recommended that even though one enters the renounced order of life, he still cannot give up the performance of yajna, dhan, and tapasya. They are never to be given up. Tapasya is meant for renounced order of life. Those who are retired from worldly activities should perform tapasya, penance, and austerities. Those who are in the material world, Kshatriyas and Vaishyas, must do charity. Brahmacharis, in the beginning of their lives, should perform different kinds of yajnas. So here Prabhupada is describing the work of the Kshatriya and Vaishyas is basically to give in charity from their accumulated wealth. So if you remember in the Krishna book, Yudhisthira Maharaj, he tried to conquer many villages and many places, once he became king. And he went and he got all the gold from all these places that he conquered, all these kingdoms that he actually conquered, and he engaged in huge sacrifice, right? The Rajasuya sacrifice. So like this is what they are meant to do in order to please the Supreme Lord. With their riches, they are meant to perform sacrifices in order to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So even the Vaishyas as well, right? And so the Vaishyas and the Kshatriyas are meant to give in charity like this. And also this Prabhupada speaks about the Brahmacharis, Grihasthas, Vanaprasthas, Sannyasis. They are not aloof of this. They also have to perform sacrifices. So then, as we go on, Prabhupada will recommend the second yajna. But for now, we just here at this part of the purport where Prabhupada is saying that everyone has to perform some type of yajna, some type of sacrifice. And it says the Brahmacharis basically they also have to perform some type of sacrifice, and that is to study the scriptures and to develop this knowledge. So that is also a sacrifice. Then Dhruva Maharaj is an ideal king, practically emptied his treasury by giving charity. A king is not meant simply to release taxes from the citizens and accumulate wealth to spend in sense gratification. World monarchy has failed ever since kings began to satisfy their personal senses with the taxes accumulated from the citizens. Of course, whether the system is monarchy or democracy, the same corruption is still going on. At the present moment, there are different parties in the democratic government, but everyone is busy trying to keep his post or trying to keep his political party in power. The politicians have very little time to think of the welfare of the citizens. The politicians have very little time to think of the welfare of the citizens, whom they oppress and heavy taxes in the form of income tax, sales tax, and income taxes. People sometimes have 80 to 90% of their income taken away, and these taxes are lavishly spent for the high salaries drawn by the officers and rulers. Formerly, the taxes from the citizens were spent for performing great sacrifices and enjoying the great riches. At the present moment, however, almost all forms of sacrifice are not at all possible. Therefore, it is recommended in Shastra that people should perform Sankirtan prayer. So, we see here the Bhagavatam is saying that as Dhruva Maharaj, he emptied his treasury by performing sacrifices. It took all the wealth that he performed sacrifices like this. So Prabhupada says that kings and now we have democracy, that the presidents are meant to extract these taxes and to perform sacrifice. And in some other place, Prabhupada says that if they give us that money, give the money to Hare Krishnas, we can actually perform sacrifices, and in this way, the whole world will be benefited. So Prabhupada very emphatically he spoke about this, and people may realize, may question, like why should we give our wealth, or why should the government give the wealth to the Hare Krishna movement? Why should they do this? But Prabhupada was very, very strong, and he says that peace can only be derived by performance of yagyas, that we are performing the best yagya, which is the Sankirtan yagya, to please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Therefore, they should give the money and the wealth to us, so that we can actually perform this yagya and please the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, we find that Prabhupada he did not mince his words. He said it as it is, and as it is given in Scripture, that yes, they should give us this wealth so that we can actually do the best welfare activity, because they are using this wealth, and as Prabhupada is saying here, for their own sense gratification, and to accumulate more and more. They're extracting from the citizens more and more wealth for their own self-sense gratification, and for their immediate families and for their own sense gratification, like this. So in this way, they extract wealth from the citizens, right? And they do not use it in the proper manner. So basically, what is meant to be used for the upkeep of society and to build roads and highways and things like this in this governmental age now. They're supposed to use it for that regard, but you see that is not done properly, right? If you go out, there's so many potholes on the road. I've been going out and seeing that there's so many potholes, and the government is not doing anything about it, right? And basically people's cars are getting damaged in this way. So yes, so if they use this money wisely in order to catch up all these things, these potholes, so that people can travel safely on the roads. But no, they won't do this. But taxation laid from the citizens is spent for great sacrifice as enjoined in the Vedic literature. At the present moment, however, almost all forms of sacrifice are not at all possible. Therefore, it is recommended in Shastra that people should perform Sankirtan Yajna. Any householder, regardless of his position, can perform the Sankirtan Yajna without expenditure. All the family members can sit down together and simply clap their hands and chant Hare Krishna mantra. Somehow or other, everyone can manage. So in this day and age, the most easiest form of sacrifice is given, where there's no expenditure. All you have to do is just sit down together, clap your hands, and chant Hare Krishna. You don't even need instruments. You can just, with your mouth, you can just chant Hare Krishna. And in this way, the Lord is satisfied. Right? If you have instruments, it's very nice to use it. But if you don't have instruments, you can just sit around and chant Hare Krishna. So in this way, this is recommended. And also, we take the mantra to the streets so that other people can hear and chant as well. Right? And sometimes they even dance with us. So in this way, we're giving them the highest gift, that's coming from the spiritual abode of Krishna. Goloka Prema Dhan, Harinam Sankirtan. The Dhan of the spiritual world is the holy name of Krishna. And this is what God has given us, what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has given us. And this is what this Dhan, this gift, we need to go and give to other people. So, because it's coming directly from the spiritual world, it's not different from Krishna himself. Alright, so I'll just read that sentence again. Somehow or other, everyone can manage to perform such a yajna and distribute prashad to people in general. That is quite sufficient for this age of Kali. The Krishna consciousness movement is based on this principle. Chant the Hare Krishna mantra at every moment, as much as possible, both inside and outside of the temple, and as far as possible distribute prashad. This process can be accelerated with the cooperation of the state administrators and those who are producing the country's wealth. Simply, by liberal distribution of prashad and sankirtan, the whole world can become peaceful and prosperous. So here Prabhupada again is making this point. He says, all we have to do is distribute prashad, chant Hare Krishna, and engage others in chanting. And he says cooperation with the state administrators. This process can be accelerated by the cooperation of the state administrators. So like this, he is basically appealing to the state to actually, join us in this yajna, this sacrifice of the holy name, Sankirtan Yajna. So this process can be accelerated with the cooperation of state administrators and those who are producing the country's wealth. Simply by liberal distribution of prashad and Sankirtan, the whole world can become peaceful and prosperous. So we need to do nothing else. We need to do nothing else to bring about peace in this world. And Prabhupada said peace and prosperous. So this world, there's no lack of anything. Everything is here, but it just has to be used correctly so that there won't be mis-expenditure of the wealth of the nation, basically, so it can be used in a more beneficial way for the people. And this way, peace can be attained. And Prabhupada says, that he goes on to say, generally, in all ritual sacrifices recommended in the Vedic literature, They are offerings to demigods. This demigod worship is especially meant for less intelligent men. Actually, the result of such a sacrifice goes to the Supreme Personality of Godhead in line where Krishna says in Bhagavatam 5:29, Bhaktaram Nirvita. He is actually the enjoyer of all sacrifices. His name, therefore, is Yajna Purush. So, here's the problem making the point that the sacrifices enjoined in the Vedas are done by less intelligent people to satisfy the demigods. But actually, this yajna is meant to satisfy the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who receives this, or ultimately receives this yajna. So he says, why not give to Krishna directly? So because he is Yajna Purush, he is the enjoyer of all sacrifices, so give it to Krishna directly, and in this way, everyone's life can become successful. Although Dhruva Maharaj was a great devotee and had nothing to do with these sacrifices, to set an example to his people, he performed many sacrifices and gave all his wealth in charity. For as long as he lived as a householder, he never spent a farthing for his sense gratification. In this verse, the word karma phala pradam is very significant. The Lord awards everyone different kinds of karma as the individual entities desire. So, here Prabhupada is saying that Dhruva Maharaj, he accumulated this wealth, but he spent nothing for his own sense gratification. He used everything in charity, right, and for the satisfaction of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. The Lord awards everyone different kinds of karma as the individual living entities desire. He is a super soul present within the heart of everyone, and he is so kind and liberal that he gives everyone full facilities to perform whatever acts one wants. So Krishna is in the heart of all living entities as a super soul, and he doesn't interfere with your desires. If you desire something, and Krishna, being the well-wisher of all living entities, he will grant you that desire, right? But you will have to take the resultant reaction for that. Whatever action you perform, you have to get the reaction of that. So in this way, Krishna doesn't interfere with your desire, but he awards you your karma phala, the fruit of your karmic activities. The results of the actions are also enjoyed by the living entity. If anyone wants to enjoy or lord his own material nature, the Lord gives him full facilities, but he becomes entangled in the results of the actions. Similarly, if anyone wants to engage himself fully in devotional service, the Lord gives him fully facilities, and the devotee enjoys the results. The Lord is therefore known as karma phala pradam. Karma phala pradam means that the Lord gives you whatever you desire, and so that you can carry on with your activities. And that way, but you will have to accept the results